Welcome back to another episode of the Undadog, where we showcase talent and we provide them with the opportunity to be seen and heard. But of course, this is a judge-free zone, but you will be judged by the people. But I can't do this alone. You know, I have my lovely co-host, Shani. Where you at, Shani?
What up, Grizz?
What's going down with you?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I love Christmas. I love Christmas music.
Yeah.
I've been listening to it since.
Okay.
Halloween.
All right. Let's get this out the way. It's Christmas Eve. Did you do all your Christmas shopping?
I did not really shop this year. You know, it's a pandemic. People understand. The only one who really got spoiled was my nephew.
Okay.
But the adults, we kind of have an understanding, like, you know what? We do what we can when we can, and it's all love. So
yeah, I miss the little hustle and bustle of the outside, you know, because I really I kind of wait all year to do my Black Friday shopping.
Oh,
and my Christmas shopping. Like I wait for those times.
Yeah.
And this year, Black Friday, I didn't even go online. I didn't even bother because I was going to spend unnecessary dollars.
Exactly. And that's
and Christmas, you know what? You know, like you said, people just gonna have to understand, you know, like to spend so much unnecessary money, and
yeah,
you know, we're in such a different place now. You know,
we are. And you know what? I've never been one to like to go to the actual stores. Like I've always kind of been like more of an online person. I don't wait for Cyber Monday either. That's just not my thing. I like online, even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't like crowds.
No, online is definitely dope. I'm an online person.
Yeah.
But I definitely like, you know, I would probably say I'm more of a Black Friday shopper. I need to be in the trenches.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to Christmas shopping.
Would you go Christmas shopping on like Christmas Eve? Have you ever done that before?
No, but I will. I've been known to get up on right after everybody finishes eating on Thanksgiving, and I'm out the door. And I'm either on someone's line or waiting for someone's computer or someone's 55-inch TV pause, you know.
Yeah. No, I've done it once. And it wasn't bad. It actually was quite peaceful, shockingly, because everybody already got through the hustle and bustle earlier in the weeks. But like on the actual Christmas Eve, it was like barely anybody in the malls or anything like that. And it was, I mean, not that there was much to choose from at that point, but
yeah,
it was good.
I wonder if you know, if the numbers are gonna reflect good or bad this year, you know, come Christmas Day, you know, and see what the numbers are tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, be safe, wear your mask, stay inside.
Yeah, wear your mask.
That's the best thing we could do at this point. Socially distance.
Yeah, that's just part of society right now. You just gotta wear your mask. Wear your mask, wear your mask.
Yeah, it's a lot of virtual celebrations.
Yeah.
And I mean, it won't be like that forever if we do the right thing, you know?
But Santa Claus has given us a nice present this year.
He's always on time, ain't he?
Yeah, he's always on time. And Santa Claus has delivered a hell of a writer. She is... I can't really even put into words, you know, properly. But you know what? Let Shani do this. You know,
he is a writer, actress, a producer, a director. She is a multifaceted and author, just a all around good person.
Yeah.
And I am beyond ecstatic to have her here today. So,
and she was my boss for 7 years,
yeah.
and I wouldn't mind her being my boss again. Just put that there again. I wouldn't mind her being my boss.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah. I'm sure many people wouldn't mind having her as a boss.
I can't worry about many people. I only have to worry about Grizzo. Only Grizzo matters.
Copy that. Copy that. Yes.
Only Grizzo matters. So we have Miss Tina Fey in the house. I can't even contain myself right now. How excited I am.
I'm like the ducks. You see, like they're cool on the outside, and the inside, I'm like,
yeah, you're quacking. T Fey. Tina Fey's in the building.
In the door, not really in the door. Hello, how are
good morning.
This is my co-host, Shawnee.
How you doing?
Hi, Tina. Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
Was it hard to get on?
No, it was easy, except I thought I was on and I was like, oh, it was 10:27. So I went to check email and then I realized I hadn't actually entered.
You gotta enter. How you been?
I'm doing okay, right? As good as anyone is doing, I guess. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah. I'm good. I can't complain. I'm happy Christian is almost done. He's in his final months of school, and I'm just glad he had an opportunity to go back because he was really concerned that he wouldn't be able to go back in his last year. So I'm glad that's over soon. Very soon.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad he got to go back.
So how are you doing in the pandemic? How are you holding up with homeschooling? And-
yes. Well, I got one kid who's going in person, and then one who opted to do it from home. So we got both things going. It's going pretty good, and I think Alice, she's going in person, but knowing that it'll be a window of time that we get to go, and then it'll probably close down. So I think we're getting closer to that window. Maybe we'll shut down soon, but I mean, it's going okay. And I'm working from home a lot now. We've been shooting a couple shows, one here in New York and one in California. And I watch the set from my TV, which is
nice.
Kind of awesome. But I also realize I'm averaging 400 steps a day on the
That's not enough.
the TV and watch the set. And
that's not enough.
Talk to the actors over Zoom. Yeah.
So you could see everything that you really need to see.
Yes, I can see. We have 3 cameras going. I can see what the cameras are seeing, and then I have a Zoom up, so the actors, if they have a question or whatever, they can go on the Zoom and talk right to me or right to Robert Carlock, and it kind of is awesome. Especially we used to have to fly back and forth to check on that set. I was like, now I just stay here. Although, I mean, I do miss mommy's work trip where it's I had to go check on the set, and then I had to go out with my friends for sushi at night, and then I had to stay in a hotel. Sorry, guys. No more of that.
So no more hanging out.
No more hanging out. No more beautiful LA sushi.
LA. Big city of dreams. So who were some of the people that are, or one of the persons that you admired coming up?
Okay. Wow. That's a good question. I think, from the time I was a little kid, I watched things like the Carol Burnett Show and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And not only were those shows really funny, but I also knew that those ladies were the boss of those shows. Right. That was a good representation for me to see that there were women in charge of their names were the title of the show. So for sure them. And then when I was old enough to watch SNL, then for sure that cast, especially everyone that has their cast of SNL that was like when they turned 12, 13, when they started staying up, like whoever was on the show then, like those are your people. So for me, that was like Jan Hooks and Dana Carvey and that era.
Yeah, I believe mine was Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
I think it was Claire Huxtable.
Can I tell you something? I just did some press this week with Felicia Rashad because we're both voices in this Pixar cartoon. And I was and it was over Zoom, unfortunately, but like I was just so in awe. Every time she would answer a question, I was like,
right. She has that effect on people.
She's so elegant and like wild.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
So like when you started like writing, and did you have that kind of pressure on yourself to say like, I want to be the first woman to do this? Or was it just like, this is what I love, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it?
Yeah, I think, when I first started writing, I went to college to study theater, and I thought like, I think everyone wants to be an actor at first because it's what you see first. It's the, and it looks like the most fun and the most glamorous or whatever. And then I studied acting in college and drama, but I also then started studying playwriting. And then when I was a senior in college, I wrote a short play. Like at our school, you could, if you wrote short plays, they could do them in this little small black box theater with no set, they do it like 2 performances only. But that was the first time I ever wrote something, gave it to other people to be in. I wasn't even in it. And I remember sitting in this tiny theater, but like hearing people laugh at stuff that I wrote, but I wasn't in it. And I was like, oh, this is a whole different feeling. This is awesome.
Yeah, definitely a different feeling.
And so that's when I realized like, oh, writing is pretty cool. And then I went after college, I went to Chicago to study improvisation, which is kind of a blend of the two, right? You're making stuff up with people on your feet. So you're in it, but you're also, for me anyway, my value to the company would be like that I had ideas of sketches we could improvise or write together. And that really became the synthesis for me of like, oh, it could be both. Like improv comedy can kind of be both.
So then how did you get from Second City to SNL?
So SNL had come, they used to come every year and scout at Second City, and Lorne Michaels and Marcy Klein would come, and it would be like a big deal. Everyone would be like, they're here. And they would sit and they in the best seats in the house and watch the show. And they saw the show when I was in it, and they skipped right over me as a performer. I was like, no, don't need that. I think Rachel Dratch came later. I'm trying to think who they did grab. But it was this guy named Adam McKay, who now is like an Oscar-winning director, but started as a brilliant improviser. He had gone ahead. He had left Second City, and he was working as the head writer. And so once I saw that they didn't really bite on me as an actor, I was like, maybe I should submit as a writer. And so I wrote a submission packet. You write 5 or 6 sketches and send them in. And because I knew Adam, he sort of vouched for me, because I will say nobody's packet of sketches is so amazing that they just get the job out of the blue. Like, there are places people come from. They either come from Second City or stand up or the Groundlings in LA. I think now it's more accessible now, because also you might just see someone on Instagram. Like there are a lot more platforms now, or YouTube, where people can get seen. It used to be only like 3 or 4 roads led to SNL. But Adam sort of vouched for me, and then I ended up getting a job there as a writer in 1997. Then I moved there.
So how was the first initial meeting to Mr. Lorne Michaels?
How was your first meeting, Lorne Michaels? You met Lorne Michaels?
I know who you are. He shook my hand. I know who you are. But I didn't get my first million at that point. But it's okay.
It was so scary. It was like being in a stress dream, right? Where you're like, I'm walking up to the building. I'm saying like, I'm here to meet Lorne Michaels. I went up to the 17th floor where his office is. I saw the nameplate on his desk. I was just like,
Nice.
And I remember only thing anyone had ever told me was people who had met him before, they were like, oh, the only thing, just like, don't finish his sentences. He gets really annoyed if people talk over him and finish his sentences. And I was like, okay. So I went in and he's like, the first thing he said to me, he was like, so you're from, and I was like, oh no, it's a trap. Like,
It's a trick question.
So I waited a long time, and then I was like, Philadelphia, right when he was like Chicago, and I was like, right, Chicago. I'm from Philadelphia, but I moved to Chicago. But I was like, in my heart, I was like, I already blew it. But it was okay. I got away with it. And yeah, that was the first time I ever talked to him, and now I've talked to him 1 billion times since.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you go from I don't want to say a no-name writer, but you go from a no-name writer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're head writer in like 2.5 years. Like who accomplishes that?
Well, it's a series of things. One, Adam McKay was the head writer, and he didn't want to do it anymore because he's like, it's a little bit not thankless, but it's like a little bit tedious. To be the head writer means you kind of have to help everybody take whatever they wrote and make it better. And sometimes it's like you don't even like what they wrote. You might think it's corny or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm still in charge of making this the best version of this corny thing. And I think Adam got tired of that, so he didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And there was another guy named Tim Herlihy who was splitting those duties too. And so he still did it. And then I think that it was more like it wasn't about being the best writer, because I wasn't necessarily the best writer there, but it was someone who kind of had managerial skills of like, okay, I could look at this and figure out what to cut, or people will sit down and let me run the table, as we say. I did have one. I like to think of like one guy that just really refused to let me be his boss. It was like there was like one dude that would like get up and take a phone call in the middle of me talking to him and stuff. Wow. And I was like, cool.
How long did he hang around?
I mean, he hung around for a long time, but he was harmless. Like, he wasn't scary, but I was very like, you think you should have my job. Got it.
Oh, I keep my eye on him.
Yeah.
So when you're writing, do you like think about like, I'm going to be in this, I'm writing this so that I can star in it? Or do you say like, you know what, I'm writing this and I got some people in mind that I want to do it? Like, how do you decide if you're going to be in it or not?
I think all the times that I've thought like, ooh, I'm going to write this and I'm going to be in it, as soon as I get started, I end up like being more interested in the other people. Like the idea to do the movie Mean Girls, because I read this article about this woman who was a teacher, this woman, Rosalind Wiseman, who still goes around and like does workshops in schools and does all this anti-bullying stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll play her. And I was in my mind, I was like, it's going to be like Stand and Deliver. I'm going to be awesome. And it's all about the teacher. And then as soon as I started actually writing it, I was like, oh, the teacher is much less interesting than the girl.
Right.
So it just kind of like kept changing in the rewrites. And with 30 Rock, I was like, okay, I want to write something that I can be in. And once I knew like, okay, but if we have Tracy and if we have Alec and we have Jane, like we have all these other combinations, right. Then a lot of times once the show was up and running, I would kind of end up writing more stuff. I would write stuff for Tracy and for Jane, and Robert Carlock would write more stuff for Alec, and for me, like the writer's room would end up writing stuff for me, because I would be like, I wasn't that interested in writing stuff for me to do.
Do you find it did you have more pressure writing or being in it?
I think writing's a lot more pressure, because you have to get it done. Like shooting in a way is kind of passive, because by the time you get there, you're like, okay, I know I stand here, I say this, and then we know what it is. By the time we're shooting it, we know what it is. And the writing, especially in that show, was pretty high pressure. We used to work. I look back and now I just turned 50, and I was like, how did we work so much? How did we work so many hours? And my daughter was like 1 at the time. I was like,
you pushed us, you cracked the whip.
used to work, and now, NBC, Grizz, since NBC has changed the rules and they will only let people shoot for 12 hours a day, which I think is great because it's like humane and it's like safer. The crew would, yes, a lot of those guys live in Jersey or whatever, and we used to shoot for like 15 hours. We'd shoot till like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, people would have like a 2-hour drive home, and that's just not safe. So things have improved since you last with us, Chris. But yeah, we used to like shoot until, on a regular day, we'd shoot till like 9 or 10 at night, and then I would go home and the writers would come to my house and we would write till 2 or 3 in the morning and turn it around. And I can't do that anymore. But anyway, the answer to your question is writing is more pressure because the writing is what's making it exist. And then once the script exists, then it's like, okay, we just take our time. We get every piece of it that we can get. Yeah.
Do you have like a moment where you just like, you know what, I want to watch something really good, something really funny, and maybe you watch your own stuff? Like, do you have a favorite movie of yours or a favorite episode of 30 Rock or anything?
I do have some favorite episodes of 30 Rock, and it's actually taken until, I think actually during quarantine and in the last year was really like the first time I was ready to watch them with fresh eyes. When we finished, I was like, I really wanted to walk away because it had been fantastic, but so much work. And it wasn't until like really this past year that I was like, let's put on Apollo, or Tracy does Conan, and I feel like, oh, these were good. Like these were really made with care is the main thing I think of. Like, and I don't know, Grizz, if you feel this way when you see stuff or if you watch it, but so much of when I see the episode, I remember like, oh, that was the day we went. And
it definitely brings back very good memories when I watch it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I do be like, oh yeah, that was the day we were sitting over here, or the day when we
had lunch. Yeah.
Even like when we did the Christmas episode, I watched that the other day, and it was just so much going back and forth out of that side door. Like we just went in and out of that side door like 100 times, but it was definitely worth it though. It was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you work with a lot of the same people. One in particular who I call her your work wife. I don't know if you think of her as your work wife, but Amy Poehler.
Yes.
What is the history with you? Like, how are you able to just really work so well together for so long?
Yeah, we go, like Tracy would say, we go back like spinal cords and car seats. I don't know. We met in Chicago in 1997. Wow. We were at a place called the Improv Olympic, and they put you on teams there. After you take some classes, then you get put on an improv team. And we were the only 2 women on our team. And we're still friends with a bunch of guys from that team too. And so we started doing that, and we've had like just a kind of a lifelong mutual respect. She's like, I had the same thing where I remember people telling me about her before we met, being like, oh, this girl's really good. You got to see this Amy Poehler. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what else is really funny is whenever people ask either one of us about the other person, they're always like, so do you guys have a rivalry? And we're always like, no. And people can't, they're like, so I just did this interview the other day for this Pixar movie, and because Amy's in a Pixar movie, and they're like, the woman was like, so do you guys have a rivalry of who's in the best Pixar movie? And I was like, nope, just love and mutual respect. And she was like, so a gentle rivalry? And I was like, no.
No.
I was like, nobody asks like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, like, so do you guys fight all the time? No, we don't. And then we started there. We toured with the Second City together a little bit. So that was like 6 people in a van driving around doing shows for Second City. And then Amy left Chicago first. She went to go do the Upright Citizens Brigade TV show in New York back in the early 90s. Yeah. I'm trying to think if it was even the late 80s. It was early 90s, I think. And then I ended up following, and I ended up being a writer at SNL, and was like, sorry, I'm tuning gong off. And asked her, like, she was already kind of well established. Like most people who come to SNL, they've never had their own show or anything before. She was kind of like, well, I've already had my own show. And I was like, please come audition. And thank God she did, because she ended up, being such a superstar on that show. And then then we ended up doing Update together. There's just been a real comfort level. We are, in some ways, we have a lot of overlap, but we are in some ways opposite. So I think it just kind of, it works when we partner up, and especially something like the Golden Globes, where we just get together for literally a week, and it's just a well, I don't know if I can curse on here, but I would say we good. Fuck around, it's like just doesn't really matter that much. That's the. I think our friendship is actually built around working together. Like that's the way we spend time together most, is if we're working on something together.
So do you think the media pushes you guys closer than anything?
Well, I mean, we talk every day, like over text and stuff like that, but I just think that what we most look forward to is, I mean, believe me, at this point, would we like to just take a vacation, all of us together, all my friends? Yes. But it's also like when we get a chance, like sisters.
So who would be on that girls' trip?
Oh my God!
Where would you guys go?
Did you see the movie Wine Country? Because that is the personnel. So Wine Country on Netflix is a movie that Amy directed that is actually based on a girls' trip that we took for Rachel Dratch's. Well, I missed Rachel Dratch's 50th birthday. As each one of us turns 50, we're trying to take a trip. And this year was supposed to be my year, but it got canceled. We will make it up.
Oh yeah,
that's the crew. It's Rachel Dratch, Amy Poehler, Paula Pell, Maya Rudolph, Emily Spivey, Anna Gasser. That's the main crew.
Now, when you guys get together like that, like everybody together, is it all just fun, or you say to yourselves, "Well, let's work on this," or "Let's write this for us," or how do you guys work that out?
When we hang out, it's just it's fun, and it's support too for just we've all, I don't know if you have this, but like friends you've known since you were 27, 28, like those are your best friends. I think sometimes when things pop out to work, then it just gets like sidebar. I think, Emily Spivey and Liz Kakowski wrote that Wine Country movie. And I think it just was born out of that trip, and then they just went off and like, boom, we got it.
Nice.
That's one of the things that I love about the movies that you're in, because it's going to be some people that are familiar, but it's the roles that they play that's surprising. Like you being in Wine Country, the role that you play, I wouldn't have expected that. And even in Mean Girls, when Amy Poehler was the mom, it was like, it's always a pleasant surprise. Even when y'all throw John Hamm in there, I love it.
He's our mascot.
Yeah.
I was so happy that they put me in Wine Country because, like I said, I missed the actual trip. So It was really nice. I would have been so sad if they had made that movie and I wasn't in it. So it was really nice of Spivey and Liz to find something for me to do in that movie. And then in Mean Girls, the funny thing was that Amy really did me a favor. We were both at SNL at the time, and I think Cheryl Hines was originally supposed to play Mrs. George, and she had to duck out because she was pregnant and didn't want to fly and didn't want to travel. And so I went to Amy and I was like, hey, I know you're only 3 years older than Rachel McAdams, but will you play her mom? Because, and it was to her credit that she said, okay, I'll do it. Because a lot of times actresses are like, once I jump to playing everybody's mom, then I can't jump back.
Right.
She was only like 32 or something. It was so dumb, but she's iconic in that part.
So iconic. So were you surprised? I saw this thing with Billboard, and you got to interview the biggest fan of Mean Girls. Were you shocked when it was Mariah Carey of all people?
Well, I knew it was going to be Mariah going in, and I had heard over the years that Mariah was a Mean Girls fan, because anytime anyone saw her reference it, people would send it to me, of course. I'm looking at how, why did I choose to wear a sweatshirt? I'm a mess. Okay. Because I think I had seen clips, I think even on was she on American Idol? What was she a judge on years ago?
Yeah, American Idol.
She was reprimanding Nicki Minaj or someone about you're quoting the movie wrong. So I knew, and she has that one song that starts with, well, she starts it by saying like, why are you so obsessed with me? And it's in the lyric and stuff. So I knew she was a fan, but I did not anticipate that she really was like, her trivia knowledge was deep and authentic. She really knows the movie. It cracked me up too, because the only moment that she like claimed to not know something was one of the questions was like, what's the Christina Aguilera song? And then the diva in her overtook the trivia nerd, and she was sort of like, oh, I don't know.
One of the popular ones, I guess.
I think you know. Oh, sorry for that, man. I don't know.
So with all this craziness going on in the world and so much funny coming out of it, are you going to go back on SNL to bless us with some more Sarah Palin or any of these?
Only one
we have not heard from her this election, right? I think Trump realized that she was too much. She liked talking as much as he did, and so he was like, "Get her out of here," because she used to campaign for him, and then he was like, he disappeared. So yeah, in improv, there's a rule when you study improv. They say like, when should you enter a scene? And some people say like, oh, do I enter a scene when I have an idea, or when it would be fun to enter, or like? And the answer is, the teachers always tell you like, the answer is you should only enter a scene when you are needed. And so if I am needed on the scene, I will enter. But right now, nobody looks like me.
Okay, so a couple more questions before we get out of here. Who makes you laugh?
Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler. I feel like I should go beyond my immediate. Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Martin, Martin Short. Yeah.
Okay. Now you're so used to teaching people and inspiring people over the years. What have your daughters taught you?
What have they taught me? I feel like they continue to teach me to not try to assume I know who they are yet. Like you think your kids, you think you have a handle on exactly who your kids are and what they're into and and then they surprise you. So I think they've taught me not to hold on to preconceived notions about anybody.
Okay.
They've taught me, here's one thing they've taught me. They've taught me to be an animal lover. I've never had a dog. I'm allergic to every kind of dog except poodles, which is what this dude is. The one who knows me for a long time would be like, you have 2 dogs? That's right.
What are their names?
This is Teddy. And
Teddy, nice.
Look at Chris, Teddy. Look him in the eyes. No respect, Teddy.
Don't look at him into the eyes. Don't look at people going into the eyes.
And he has a dog sister named Mabel, who's not in the room right now. But yeah, they taught me that. They taught me to love animals. By the way, Grizz, I should mention that the only time in all the time since we stopped 30 Rock, the only time that Robert and I were like, that's a 30 Rock story we should have done is, I forget how it came up, but I had watched The Green Mile, I think on the weekend. And I was like, we should have done a story where it turns out that Grizz is a sin eater and that he can absorb people's sins.
Nice.
But it's very hard on you. Like and like everyone, all the characters would have come to you and been like, Grizz, I did this. And you'd be like, make it better. So.
Well, we can always come back and do something like that.
Come back for a one-off just to write that.
Just for that. Okay, so for the underdog that's sitting at home, any advice for the underdog?
Yeah, I think, I try to remind people that I'm a person that should never have been on television. Like there was nobody, I was from like regular suburban PA, never like when I auditioned for stuff, I never booked anything, but I found a way to, by continuing to work and trying to find like any place that would let me work, any tiny stage. Nowadays you don't even need a venue. You can like make your films, put them on YouTube, whatever. If you have something to say, keep finding ways to do your thing. And if it's specific to you and it's authentic at some point, it's probably going to resonate with somebody. And so like, keep doing your thing and try to try to put into the world what is authentically and specifically coming from you.
Okay. So what's next for Tina Fey?
Well, I'm running these 2 shows. One I have to run, one I'm like producing. And then, Christmas Day, I have this Pixar movie comes out on Disney Plus Christmas Day, and it's called Soul. And it's me and Jamie Foxx, mostly Jamie Foxx.
Nice.
Jamie Foxx and me, and Questlove and Angela Bassett and Felicia Rashad, and it's beautiful. And in that Pixar way, you'll be like,
ready to cry.
So that's what's coming up.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for coming on the Underdog. I appreciate it so much.
Nice to talk to you, Grizz, and nice to meet you, Shani.
Nice to meet you too, Tina.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Now.
Bye.